Welcome back to the deep dive. Look, usually when we talk about money, personal finance, or career growth, the advice is, well, let's be honest, it's polite. It's safe. It's skip the latte, max out your 401k, be a good team player. It's designed to make you feel responsible and cozy.
It's the financial equivalent of a warm blanket.
Yeah.
It keeps you safe, but it doesn't really move you anywhere fast.
Exactly. And that is not what we are doing today.
Right.
Today, we are ripping the blanket off. We're looking at the absolute antidote to that cozy advice. We are digging into a book that is aggressive, controversial, and frankly, a little bit terrifying.
Yeah.
We're talking about the brutal reality of making not just a living, but hundreds of millions of dollars.
And we aren't talking about financial security today. We aren't talking about being well off.
Yeah.
We are talking about dynastic wealth, the kind of money that, changes your family's trajectory for generations.
Yeah.
And our guide for this isn't some financial advisor. It's the late Felix Dennis and his book, How to Get Rich.
And before you roll your eyes thinking, this is some modern guru selling a dropshipping course on TikTok, let's just set the record straight on who Felix Dennis actually was.
Yeah.
Because this guy was a character. I mean, truly.
He was a fascinating contradiction. You're right. He wasn't a guru. He was a bona fide tycoon. He built this massive publishing empire from scratch, Dennis Publishing.
Right.
If you remember magazines like Maxim or The Week or Computer Shopper, that was him. He made a fortune in one of the most competitive, low-margin, just cutthroat industries on earth.
Print media.
Print media. And he did it while living a life that would make a rock star blush.
I mean, the stories about this guy.
Oh, absolutely. The man spent millions on wine, women, and drugs. He was totally unapologetic about it. But, and this is the kicker, he was also a serious published poet.
Wow.
So you have this ruthless, sharp-elbowed businessman who then retires to his estate to write poetry about trees and mortality.
It sets such a weird, almost jarring tone for a business book, but that's why I think this source material is so valuable.
I agree.
He isn't trying to sell you a seminar. He's already rich. He's writing this almost like a confession.
That's the core premise, really. Dennis argues that getting seriously rich, and he defines that as having a net worth of tens or hundreds of millions, is actually possible for almost anyone with reasonable intelligence.
He genuinely believes that.
He does. But the method isn't the secret. The secret is the cost. The price tag is so astronomically high in terms of health, relationships, mental stability, that he argues most sane people simply shouldn't even attempt it.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to break down the mechanics, the actual how-to part, but we're going to weigh it constantly against the psychological toll he warns about. It's a roadmap, but it feels more like a warning label on a pack of cigarettes.
It's a guide on how to get rich, but essentially it's an argument for why you probably shouldn't.
Okay, so let's start with the definitions, because in normal conversation, we use rich and wealthy as synonyms. If I see a guy in a Porsche, I say, he's rich. Felix Dennis says, not necessarily. What's the distinction for him?
It all comes down to the difference between income and assets.
Okay.
Dennis points out that most people, even high achievers, confuse a high salary with wealth. So take a neurosurgeon or a corporate lawyer at a top firm.
Yeah.
They might be pulling in, say, $500,000 or $1 million a year.
Sure.
They have the country club membership, the nice lease on the car, the big mortgage. Dennis calls them rich, or even meaner. He calls them the comfortably poor.
Comfortably poor. I mean, that is incredibly dismissive for someone making $1 million a year.
I know.
I think most people would kill to be comfortably poor.
It sounds so harsh, but look at the mechanics of it. They are trading time for money. They're high-paid employees.
Right.
If the surgeon injures their hand or the lawyer burns out and stops working, the money stops instantly.
But the bills don't.
But the expenses, the mortgage, the private school tuition, the car payments, those keep going. They are on a treadmill that's moving very, very fast. They can't step off.
So to Dennis, wealthy isn't about the size of the paycheck at all.
No. To Dennis, wealthy means you own assets, businesses, equity, real estate, copyrights that generate value whether you get out of bed in the morning or not.
It's the difference between being the highest paid sailor on the ship
And being the guy who owns the shipping line.
Yes.
Exactly.
This leads us to what seems to be the golden rule of the entire book, the equity imperative.
This is non-negotiable for him. If you want to get seriously wealthy, you must be an owner. You cannot work your way to $100 million.
It's just mathematically impossible.
It's mathematically impossible due to taxes and salary caps. You have to own the pie, or at least a significant slice of it.
But that's scary for people, right? Employment is safe, ownership is all risk. And frankly, a lot of people think, well, if I work for a startup, I'll get stock options, so I'm an owner.
Dennis would just laugh at that. He gives very specific tactical advice here. He says if you're the one building the company, you should be incredibly generous with cash.
Pay well, give bonuses.
Yeah, treat them like gold, but be absolutely miserly with equity.
That runs counter to the current tech narrative, doesn't it? In Silicon Valley, everyone hands out stock options like they're candy.
They do.
Come work for us, we'll give you a fraction of a percent.
And Dennis views that as a fatal mistake if your goal is personal dynastic wealth. He views equity as the golden goose. Cash is a renewable resource. You can always make more revenue next month.
But equity.
Equity is finite. It's 20% and then it starts shrinking. Once you give 10% of your company away, it is gone forever. If that company eventually sells for $500 million, that 10% you give away casually is $50 million you don't have.
Keep control at all costs.
At all costs.
So step 1, realize you need to own the asset, not just work in it. Step 2 is where he hits us with the desire filter. He asks a question that sounds simple, but I think most people answer it dishonestly. He asks, do you really want to be rich?
It's the most important question in the book. And he bets that for 99% of people, the honest answer is no.
Wait, I feel like 99% of people would say yes. Who doesn't want financial freedom?
But that's the trap. They want the result. They want the spending power. They want the freedom to travel.
But they don't want the process.
They do not want the process. The process of getting seriously rich involves obsession. It involves what Dennis calls tunnel vision. You have to be willing to work harder than anyone else, for years, often without seeing immediate results.
While your friends are out at the pub or watching Netflix.
Exactly. It's the difference between wanting to be an Olympic athlete standing on the podium and wanting to get up at 4 a.m. every single day for 4 years to train in the cold.
Right.
He has this specific warning about comfort that really stuck with me. He basically says if you want a nice life, a balanced life where you see your kids' soccer games, have weekends off, pursue hobbies. Do not start a business with the intent of getting rich.
So he's saying work-life balance is just incompatible with getting rich.
In the building phase, yes. He says you have to choose. You can be comfortable and secure, or you can be rich. But you cannot be both simultaneously.
That's tough to hear.
Well, he talks about how wealth creation is a jealous mistress. It demands everything. If you're trying to maintain a work-life balance while building a startup against a competitor who is obsessed and working 18 hours a day, well, the obsessive person will crush you.
That's a bleak picture. But let's say a listener is nodding along. They're thinking, okay, I'm wired differently. I'm willing to make the sacrifice. I want to build the empire. The next logical hurdle is the big idea. We're conditioned to think we need to be Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. We need to invent the next iPhone to make that kind of money.
And Dennis completely dismantles that myth. He says waiting for a revolutionary idea is actually a form of procrastination.
Interesting.
In fact, he argues that revolutionary ideas are dangerous. They're expensive to educate the market on. If you invent something nobody has ever seen, you have to spend millions just explaining why they even need it.
He didn't invent magazines.
Exactly. He didn't invent ink or paper or distribution. He just looked at what was already working. Computer magazines, men's lifestyle magazines, and he did them slightly differently. This is his copy and improve strategy.
I love this because it makes wealth so much more accessible. You don't need to be a genius.
You really don't. You just need to look at what people are already buying. He suggests looking for an industry where people are already making money. So the demand is there, but where the incumbents are lazy or the service is bad or they've stopped innovating.
And you just go in and execute better.
Every single time. Execution over innovation. A mediocre idea with fantastic, relentless execution will make you rich. A brilliant idea with poor execution will bankrupt you.
He's very clear on that.
Oh, yeah. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be the one who gets things done.
This ties into his views on speed. He talks about done is better than perfect.
Yes. He advocates for launching fast and fixing it later. He warns against analysis paralysis, spending years writing business plans and doing market research.
While you're planning, someone else is doing.
Exactly. He said to get the product out, see if it sells, and learn on the fly.
There's also a management tactic he mentions that I found really useful, the 80-20 rule, but applied to your own effort as a founder. Because usually founders trying to do everything.
Right. And that leads to burnout. Dennis says you should focus 80% of your results on 20% of your effort. But the nuance is knowing what to delegate.
Okay.
He admits he was terrible at administrative details, so he hired people to handle the details. But, and this is a big but, you never delegate the core competitive advantage.
What does that mean in practice? Give me an example.
Okay, if your business succeeds because of your specific sales ability,
Yeah.
your ability to close big deals, you can never delegate the big sales meetings.
You have to be in that room.
You have to be in the room. If it succeeds because of your product vision, you can't outsource the product design to an agency. You can hire accountants, lawyers, HR managers. Those are commodities. But you cannot hire someone to be the visionary if that is your role.
So we have the vehicle, which is ownership. We have the strategy, which is execution. Now we have to talk about the obstacles. And Dennis seems to think one of the biggest obstacles isn't the market or the economy, it's other people, specifically partners.
He is incredibly skeptical of business partnerships. He views them as a primary cause of failure.
That feels lonely. And frankly, it goes against most advice. I mean, Y Combinator looks for co-founders. They don't like solo founders. Why is Dennis so anti-partner?
Ego and misalignment. He argues that most partnerships eventually fall apart because people change. One partner wants to reinvest everything for growth. The other wants to take cash out to buy a vacation home.
Right.
Or one partner works 80 hours a week and the other works 40, but they both own 50%. The resentment builds until it just explodes.
So his advice is to go it alone.
If you possibly can.
But what if you can't? What if I have the business savvy, but I can't write code? I need a technical co-founder.
Well, if you absolutely need a partner, he says you must ensure your skills are complementary, not overlapping. Don't partner with your best friend just because you like them.
Right.
Partner with someone because they can do what you can't. And crucially, he says you have to set the equity split in stone immediately. Do not leave it vague.
Because arguments over equity when the company is worth nothing are easy.
They are. But arguments over equity when the company's worth $10 million will destroy the business and your friendship.
Clear contracts save friendships. Or at least they save the business when the friendship ends. Now let's move to the internal obstacle, fear. Because reading about Felix Dennis, you imagine this fearless, swaggering guy, but he admits he was terrified.
He was. And I think this is so important for listeners to hear. We look at successful tycoons and assume they are built differently, that they just lack the fear gene.
Right.
Dennis says fear is a constant companion. When he started, he had no money, no experience. He was scared of failing, scared of looking like an idiot, scared of going broke.
So courage isn't the absence of fear.
No, courage is acting despite the fear. It's the ability to pick up the phone to make the sales call even when your stomach is in knots. It's signing the lease on the office even when you aren't sure you can pay the rent in 6 months.
But he also brings up a counterintuitive fear. The fear of success. That always sounds like a humble brag to me. Oh, I'm so afraid I'll be too successful. Who fears that?
It sounds fake, but it's a real psychological barrier. With success comes visibility. He talks about the tall poppy syndrome.
Right.
As soon as you start rising above the crowd, you become a target. People, critics, the media, sometimes even friends will try to cut you down. You face a scrutiny and pressure that you just didn't have when you were nobody.
So you need a thick skin.
Thicker than a rhinoceros.
Yeah.
You have to be able to ignore what others think. If you crave approval from everyone, you cannot get rich. You have to be willing to be misunderstood or even disliked.
This brings us to the part of the deep dive that usually makes people go quiet. The cost. We touched on it with the comfort warning, but Dennis gets really dark here. He doesn't just say you'll be tired. He details a physical and mental toll that is, frankly, disturbing.
It is the dark side of the book. He talks about his own life. He suffered multiple heart attacks. He struggled with severe alcoholism and drug use. He talks about relationships that were completely incinerated because of his obsession with business.
He didn't have a family in the traditional sense.
No. And he implies this isn't just bad luck. It's almost a requirement of the intent that he needed to win.
So it's not a bug, it's a feature.
He suggests that the level of focus required to build a $100 million empire necessitates neglecting other parts of your life. It's a zero-sum game of time and energy. You can't be a present father, perfect husband, a marathon runner, and a tycoon all at the same time. Something has to give.
And for him, it was his health and his personal life.
It was.
It raises that age-old question, does money make you happy? Dennis had hundreds of millions. He had the estate, the cars, the fame. Was he happy?
He's very nuanced on this. He explicitly says money does not buy happiness. What money buys is options.
Options.
It solves specific types of stress. You don't worry about the electric bill. You get the best medical care. You can travel anywhere. But it creates entirely new categories of stress.
Like what?
Lawsuits. It's a
Yeah.
huge one.
Yeah.
The richer you are, the more people sue you. It's just a constant barrage. Then there are the fake friends. The people who only like you for your utility or your connections.
Sure.
Family drama explodes when there is a fortune at stake, wills, loans, handouts, and then there's the loneliness.
The loneliness of leadership.
Exactly. When you're the owner, you cannot show weakness. You can't complain to your employees because they depend on you for their livelihood. You can't complain to your competitors because they will use it against you. You are carrying the weight of the entire structure alone.
It's an incredibly isolating position to be in.
Incredibly.
So we have the strategy, the fear, the terrible cost. If a listener is still with us, if they haven't been scared off, Dennis says there is one key ingredient that matters more than talent, more than luck, more than anything else.
Persistence. Staying power.
He has this observation that most people quit right at the finish line.
It's the almost moment. He says he saw so many competitors who were smarter than him, maybe even had better ideas or more funding, but they folded when things got tough.
They quit right before the breakthrough.
They did. Dennis's superpower wasn't genius. It was that he just refused to go away. He calls it having a thick skin and a brass neck.
It reminds me of that saying, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Dennis believes exactly that. He acknowledges luck plays a huge role. You have to be in the right place at the right time. But he views luck as something you catch by staying in the game.
Right.
If you fold your hand, you can't get lucky. The longer you stick around, the more opportunities you have for lightning to strike. He says if you just keep showing up, eventually the universe gives up and lets you win.
So let's try to synthesize this. We have a book that tells us to get rich, we need to own equity, we need to execute rather than invent, we need to avoid partnerships, and we need to be obsessed to the point of unhealthiness.
That is the trade-off. It is a transaction. You are trading your time, your health, and your relationships for ownership and capital.
It feels like the ultimate be careful what you wish for scenario.
It really is. The book is titled How to Get Rich, but honestly, I read it as a manifesto on why you should choose to be happy instead.
It strips away the glamour.
It does. There are no private jets in this advice, just late nights, heart palpitations, and difficult decisions.
But for the person who feels that compulsion, who can't imagine working for someone else who has that fire, it's a roadmap.
It is the most honest roadmap I have ever seen. It says, here is the mountain. It is covered in thorns and wolves. If you climb it, you will bleed, but there is gold at the top. Do you want to climb?
That is a powerful image, and I think that leads us to a final thought to leave our listeners with.
I want everyone listening to imagine a legal contract sitting in front of them right now. Visualize it.
Okay.
On one side, it guarantees you will make $100 million. You will never worry about a bill again. You will have total freedom.
But there is a clause in fine print. There's always a clause.
There is. To get it, you know for a fact that you will lose your closest relationship, your partner or your best friend, and you will suffer a major health event that shortens your life by 10 years. The pen is on the table. Do you sign it?
Wow. I think a lot of people would hesitate, pick up the pen, look at it, and then put it down.
And that is the point. If you wouldn't sign that paper, maybe you don't really want to be seriously rich. And that's okay. It's actually liberating to realize that.
That is something to chew on while you drive to work or walk the dog. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Felix Dennis.
It was a pleasure. A sobering one, but a pleasure.
If you enjoyed this unvarnished look at wealth, please rate the deep dive, share it with a friend, maybe the one who is always talking about their startup idea. We will see you next time.